Alright, so I've added film and TV personas to the I Ching Physiognomy Archetypes chart and renamed it to I Ching Physiognomy Archetypes. So you can check that out now. I'm just going to be talking about it a little bit and showing some of the different characters I've added. Obviously, you can add dozens of different characters into their archetypes and based off of their physiognomy and how they express the different I Ching archetypes. Like Darth Vader, since he's wearing a mask that doesn't have any features, he's projecting all closed emotions. And so when you wear a mask, you project that emotional mimicry. And we'll see another example of that in a little bit. Powerful, there's the themes of that duality of balance of good and evil, which is very much in line with the dominance of Yang in the first hexagram of the I Ching. I tried to mainly find villains because I thought that they were more complex and they offered more interesting examples of the archetypes. But if we go from Darth Vader, I also have added Anakin Skywalker in the 19th hexagram, which is mythologically characterized by Jesus, and you can see that he's destined to bring balance. It's all about duty and putting in the diligence to fulfill whatever course or situation is going on. Now, when you get a full narrative, you can see how he expresses the 19th hexagram and then later as Darth Vader in the first hexagram based off of the situations. When a character is expressing their different archetypes, obviously most of the time they have a wide range of emotions and facial expressions, and you could actually map out their changing hexagrams within each situation and get a very detailed spread of their different archetypes and how they react in different situations. I chose the ones which best characterize them, their emotional type that best projects their character. Since we were talking about masks, for Spider-Man, obviously you can project this emotional type of the 10th with or without a mask, but when you have a mask and it has certain features, you're going to project that emotional type. And so it doesn't matter what the character is underneath the mask. As soon as he's wearing the mask, he projects that kind of archetype, and that's why all the Spider-Man characters, they're generally all the same within this archetype. When they're out of the mask, they can be different, but within the mask, you get into the mindset of the emotions you're projecting, because we mimic those emotions. Whether the face is mimicking your mental processes, or in the case of wearing a mask, you mimic the emotional type of the mask. Obviously, we get heightened awareness. He has his spider senses with treading dangerous grounds and the Horus archetype. And here we have Luke Skywalker in the 23rd hexagram splitting apart, stripping away a worn out or obsolete form of presentation, cutting out the essential. Much like Eve and Pandora, he was tempted by the dark side. He dislikes outdated technology, and his emotions are always out in the open, and that's very much what the open eyes and the open mouth of this emotional type is. And what you get is a interaction between the different hexagrams within the narrative. So just seeing any of these faces, it doesn't tell you if they're good or evil, only within context of what's going on in the narrative. If you've never seen a show before and you see their faces, you can know what kind of emotions they have, how they react to different situations. You can know their archetype. And then when you start to see the show more, or even in real life, you start to see a person more, you can understand how they express their different archetypes, how their emotional mimicry is projecting these different archetypes. One way you can imagine this is if the universe was divided into 64 equal parts, the I Ching archetypes are kind of like that. They provide sort of energetic qualities based off of the hexagrams, the dynamic of yin and yang, and so they kind of have an energetic component, and all these different things can be categorized into them. You have different versions of these same archetypes, different iterations, and that's all this is it's not necessarily that Luke and Eve are the same person, but they fulfill the same archetype. They're projecting that same those same mental processes, that same emotional type. Doctor Who, you have the one-eyed Odin, the wandering god. And with Doctor Who, he's a time traveler, he's wandering. And especially for this actor who played him. Right, so other actors in Doctor Who could be expressing different emotional types. But this doctor in particular expresses the 24th return, and he's got that, he's very much uses one eye and one eyebrow and expresses that more than the other. Vast knowledge and time travel and things like that. Here's another one from a more recent show, Logan Roy from Succession. In the 27th Jaws, mythologically Pele, his character revolves around receiving information. So characters will tell him what's going on, and he usually reacts really angrily, and everyone has to kind of work to satiate or to satisfy that anger. So there's different ways you can project these emotional types, whether it's a hero or a villain, all these different kinds of examples of how you can have that emotional type characterized. Another good example is Bill, from Kill Bill, the 37th hexagram family. He was all about family. He created a close-knit assassin group he considered family. He was motivated by the love of his life, who was Beatrix, and when she didn't love him back, he killed her family. So you can kind of see it's a more masochistic expression of the archetype, but he's also very cultured and sophisticated, so it's all about that. So it's all about that kind of family living space, sharing within a community. Now if we go to Beatrix Kiddo, the 41st hexagram diminishing, decrease, reducing one's involvement, withdrawing energy from the matter at hand. The whole time Beatrix wanted to get out of the assassin life. She wanted to have a kid, and so her whole mission to kill Bill was so that she could finally be done with that lifestyle and get out of that situation. With Vidar, the god, he was fated to duel the main boss of Ragnarok, which was Fenrir. After Fenrir kills Odin, he has to fight him, so you kind of get that same. Within diminishing, you have to kind of beat the main boss, which is Bill. You got Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards, confinement, enclosure or restriction that causes the life energy to contract and force one to find a way to grow within the limitations imposed by the circumstances. He was an opportunist. He didn't really have any moral or personal stake in any side. He was just wanted to be on the winning side, and he'd do whatever he could to get that, to stay alive. He was very self-serving, and Eris, the goddess of discord, she enjoyed the bloodshed of battle and caused many disagreements. He could have beat the main characters, but he wanted to kind of create discord. He wanted to make things interesting, and he recognized the losing side and kind of allowed them to carry through with their plan. So he's very much in that confinement where you're forced to move within that confined space, and anytime you have a closed space, you're going to get discord eventually. It's going to cause things to be chaotic. It's going to be very entropic. So if you're watching a show or a movie, or even seeing someone in real life, if you see their emotional type, figure out what their facial mimicry is. You can see how they exist within the archetype. So if you're watching a TV show, you can see what kind of face that best characterizes them, and then see where they fall into this chart. Because obviously, like I said, you could have dozens or hundreds of characters within each category, and see how they all fulfill that archetype. So hopefully I picked a lot of good characters, interesting characters that are well known, and maybe that'll make the archetypes a little bit more relatable. You might be able to understand them better than the mythological or even the emoji, and understand the characters in these different shows. But yeah, so that's up, so you can check that out. The link will obviously be in the description. I just wanted to provide that update, and thanks for watching.